Bella Luna. I'm going to be doing your reading for today. So these are general, they may or may not resonate. They're meant for the week ahead, and truly, I believe time is infinite. It's all happening at once. So whenever you find this reading, I believe it's truly meant for you, and it was when you were meant to find it. So let's see right off the bat what we can get for you guys in the center point of the situation. Of course, Scorpio. Scorpio gets Scorpion. Classic. So, this is interesting. As I pulled the card out, I started moving my back. I felt a bunch of energy almost rush through. So, though this is not a snake card, I'm almost inclined to say this reading has something to do with a Kundalini rising. If you don't know what that is, I highly recommend you look it up. You've probably had one in your past. If you haven't, then perhaps this is the week where you have a Kundalini arising. So I'm also sensing that this sort of spiritual transformation is happening because something has really stung you. And I'm hearing it's, you know what it is? Oh, God, Scorpio. If you've ever had this experience to you, I think you'll understand it, or it's what's going to be happening this week. As people, we're all so different, right? But we're also similar at the same time. And what I've noticed is each person has something very particular to them that is an extreme sensitive spot that, how do I say it? The only way to really trigger someone like that, it's like the one thing in their life that is really, really sensitive, that they're really emotional about, right? But you wouldn't really know it about them unless you really knew them, or unless by some sheer chance of luck, you trigger that side of them. And it's almost like this week, by some type of divine intervention, someone has just pulled back an arrow and they hit your bullseye so precisely. I'm just seeing an arrow flying through the air, hitting a glass, and it's shattering, right? It hit the perfect. I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Whoever I'm connecting with through this reading, I can even hear you saying it. You're like, oh my God, like how? Like that was the one thing that how? And it's overwhelming because there's nothing you can do to almost stop this emotional outpour, if that makes sense. It's out of your control to stop it, which Scorpios don't like in the first place. Scorpios like, what do you mean I can't control it? Like, I'm from the underworld. What do you mean? Do you know how much power I have? Like, yeah, Scorpio, we know. But unfortunately, in this situation, there's just nothing you can do. So from the past, where you were coming from was Gazelle. So for me, the Gazelle card talks about letting go, right? You can see there's a setting sun in the distance. For me, it's a really big card of nostalgia. It's a card of comfort. It's a time in our life where we really need to be attentive to ourselves, in particular, attentive to our needs emotionally. So what do you need to feel supported? What do you need to feel comforted? For you, that could be junk food, going for a walk, listening to a podcast, listening to your favorite artist. The list goes on. Only you will know what soothes you, right? So it's interesting that it's almost like what you were getting over, what you were comforting, has been triggered again, right? And I'm hearing it's been triggered in a way that you've never had to deal with. So that's pretty big. Let's see where you're heading in the future. These two flipped up earlier and I put them back, but they came out again, so I'm gonna keep them. Vulture and Horse. So I think this week ahead, where you're heading, as I said, Kundalini, it's a very transformative week for you, Scorpio. with the Vulture card, any part of you that has been rotting away is getting eaten, right? And excuse me for using such vivid imagery, but that's what's being shown to me. The toxic parts of you are getting taken away through this cleansing process. And vultures are very underrated creatures in the ecosystem, right? Vultures help cleanse the ecosystem. They're super purifying. And their work really does go unappreciated. So I don't know if you'll be meeting someone or you have met someone who was like that, the value of their worth isn't really recognized until they're gone. For some people, it is like that. The lesson of the person doesn't get learned until that person is gone. So I don't know if you're meeting this person, have already met them, but it's like whatever toxicity you can see or can't see is getting pulled apart. And once it does, you are just ready to go, right? I'm almost seeing you as like a brand new racehorse. You're getting set up at the tracks and you're ready to run the race. And it's nice because we go from the past of the gazelle, which is like a very slow moving, very peaceful, borderline stagnant energy, to a fast moving, solid, stable, hard working person. Now it's coming through again with the Kundalini rising. I almost think this has happened for you, Scorpio, so that you can become more stable within yourself, right? I think this has been a huge trust exercise with not only yourself, but those around you. And once this transformation is complete, I'm really hearing it, there's no going back to the way you used to operate. There's no going back to whatever matrix you were operating under. It's just a complete overhaul of your reality, really. So subconsciously, let's see what's going on. You know what? You guys got 2 more cards, and I'm going to take them. You have Elephant and Camel. So for me, the Camel card talks about a 2-year journey, a pilgrimage. It also talks about resources. So as I said, I almost wonder if you've been giving your resources to the wrong person. And maybe that's why you've had this Kundalini rising, because, you're a Scorpio, right? You guys understand power very well. Your depths are very deep. So a part of power is really understanding that it comes from you, right? You are the energy source. You are the one that delegates where you use your power and where you don't use it. So I almost wonder if your power has been linked to your resources, right? Or a part of your power. Whatever resources you've been using, it almost feels like people have been taking from you, right? Whether that's not lending back money or, borrowing your stuff, never giving it back. It could be something as simple as every time you go out to drink, you bring some liquor, right? You're drinking your liquor and you brought it for yourself, you brought it for a few other people, and then every single time they're like, can I have a shot or can I have a drink? And you're like, bro, get your own, right? It's that kind of vibe. So I think this week, at least subconsciously, and I do think consciously, we'll see what card comes out, you're getting rid of those people, or at least putting up a boundary so that you cannot be used like that, right? Ganesha is the remover and destroyer of obstacles. The remover and placer of obstacles. So sometimes in life, Ganesha will place an obstacle in our path so that we can be deferred to another one that is actually way better for us, right? And I do think this is going to take some time for you, Scorpio. I think it's about a 2-year process. As I said with Camel card, that's my 2-year signifier. So throughout the next 2 years, you're going to be learning how to put up these boundaries, where people have been taking from your resources. And that could very well be energy too, right? It doesn't have to be money. It could be you're always there to listen to their problems, but when you have something emotional going on, there's no one for you to lean on, right? Something like that, where you've just been unfairly treated, right? And I think with the horse card, you can see the crescent moon right in the center of its third eye, and it's reflected in the background of the camel. So I do think you're going to be getting a lot of universal insights on where these resources are being drained, especially focused to what you're hearing in the nighttime under moonlight. At night, it's just a proven fact that our quote unquote psychic abilities, or the way I like to say it, our perception of the world sort of opens up a little bit. That's just what I've noticed. So let's see the conscious part of the situation. I only want one card for what's happening, what's crowning the reading. Lamb, oh my god. So Scorpio, geez. It's almost like you're having a return to innocence. I know that sounds really strange, but I think perhaps there's been a lot of excuse me, how do I put this into words? A lot of other people's shadows have been running loose. Let me explain that. When I say someone's shadow is running loose, I'm simply saying that they have not integrated the darker side of their personality. So, for example, when you look at the yin yang symbol, there's good in darkness and there's darkness in good. Everyone is like that. Everyone has those two sides. And in my opinion, a healthy person is someone who has integrated both. Because without one, you can't have the other. If someone presents themselves as holier than thou, you can almost guarantee that person is not actually that way. Because no one is, right? So I think for a while you might have been really confused as to where this lack of energy has been coming from, why you've been lacking in resources. And it's just because other people have been taking it from you, other people's shadows that they haven't integrated. You know, when the shadow is running loose, there's not much you can do to stop it other than integrate it. Because that shadow is going to behave on your part. It's going to do things that you are not conscious of because you have not accepted it yet, right? It's a simple yet complicated sort of concept. And I think this is the week where you're beginning to integrate your own shadow, right? It's a further shadow integration for you. The toxic parts of yourself, they're getting ripped off and replaced, right? So once you're able to notice that toxicity within yourself, it's easy to remove it. But what becomes a little bit more difficult is when you notice it in other people. Because, as I said, Scorpio, you have no power in this situation, right? Or not no power, you have power. But you don't have any control, in particular over other people, right? So this is the week where even if you see someone behaving really badly, and you know, no judgment there, you can look at them and say, you know what, I used to behave like that. I can understand where you're coming from. However, this is not appropriate behavior, right? And there's nothing you can do to change their behavior. All you can do is change your own, right? Before you stoop to their level, show them how they are so not on your level. Leave people better than you found them, right? Which is really hard to do. It's not easy, which is why I think Lamb is showing up as the outcome, because really what's crowning the reading, Scorpio, is the fact that you don't want to hurt anyone. You don't want there to be any sadness, grief, pain in this situation. But unfortunately, you are dealing with some heavier energies. So I think this is the week you're having that Kundalini rising to really transform something from a dark situation to a little bit of a lighter one. If not lighter for everyone else involved, then at least lighter for yourself. So I think I'm going to leave the reading there. I hope something resonated, Scorpio. I hope it helped in some way, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.